The monastery bell rings at dawn, and I watch the elderly monk beside me rise with the same gentle grace he's carried for decades. There's something profound about witnessing a life that has learned to turn inward, to find treasure in the autumn years, rather than mourning what spring has taken away. If you're entering your golden years, or watching loved ones navigate this sacred transition, you're not alone in feeling lost about where to place your energy and attention. Society whispers that your best days are behind you, but Buddhist wisdom reveals a different truth entirely. Today we'll explore 7 transformative lessons that will help you focus on yourself in old age, not with selfishness, but with the deep self-compassion that this phase of life both requires and offers. The first lesson emerges from understanding that aging is not decay, but distillation. Just as wine becomes richer with time, your consciousness has been refining itself through decades of experience. In the temple, I've observed that our oldest practitioners often possess the clearest meditation, the steadiest breath, the most unshakable peace. Why? Because they've learned to release what never served them. Imagine your younger self as a tree heavy with every leaf it ever grew, beautiful but burdened. Now you are that same tree in autumn, having naturally shed what was excess, revealing the elegant architecture of your essential self. This is your time to practice conscious pruning. Look at your daily life and ask, what relationships, activities, or thoughts still deserve your precious energy? What can you release with gratitude, knowing it served its purpose but no longer fits who you're becoming? But this selective attention brings us to a deeper challenge, the fear that focusing on yourself means abandoning others. The second lesson teaches us that self-focus in old age is not selfish, it's skillful. There's a beautiful Pali word, upadana, meaning clinging or attachment. Throughout most of life, we cling to our roles as providers, fixers, the ones others depend on. Yet Buddhist teachings show us that excessive caretaking can become a form of spiritual bondage for both giver and receiver. Picture a master gardener who has spent 40 years tending every plant in a vast garden. As autumn arrives, she doesn't abandon her garden, but she learns to tend it differently, with wisdom rather than anxiety, with guidance rather than control. I remember watching my teacher, now in his 80s, as a younger monk brought him a problem. Instead of rushing to solve it, he simply listened, asked one penetrating question, then sat in peaceful silence. That silence held more healing power than 100 anxious solutions ever could. Your focus on inner development now becomes your greatest gift to others. When you cultivate your own peace, wisdom, and acceptance, you become a living example of how to age gracefully rather than desperately. Yet even as we embrace this inward turn, old patterns of comparison can sabotage our efforts. The third lesson reveals why comparing your autumn to others' spring only breeds suffering. The Buddha spoke of mudita, sympathetic joy, the ability to celebrate others' happiness without measuring it against your own. But in old age, this practice takes on special urgency. You watch younger generations achieve milestones you've already passed, or pursue dreams you've had to release, and the mind whispers, "You're too late, too slow, too irrelevant." This is the ego's final desperate attempt to maintain its grip on your peace. Consider how a mountain regards the seasons passing around its base. It doesn't envy spring for its blooms, or summer for its intensity. It knows that its own weathered peaks hold a majesty that only time can sculpt. Your lines and limitations, your slower pace and smaller world, these aren't failures, but achievements, evidence of a life fully lived, and a spirit finally free to focus on what matters most. The practice here is radical acceptance. When comparison arises, breathe into the feeling without fighting it, then gently return your attention to your own unique unfolding. What gifts has your particular journey given you that no younger person could possibly possess? This acceptance opens the door to perhaps the most liberating realization of all. The fourth lesson shows us that many of our deepest regrets are actually invitations to wisdom. Buddhist teaching tells us that suffering often comes from our resistance to what is, including our resistance to our own past choices. In old age, the mind loves to replay the story of roads not taken, words not spoken, chances not seized. But what if those very regrets are pointing toward the values and insights that now deserve your focus? I once sat with a dying monk who spent his final months expressing gratitude for his mistakes. Each wrong turn, he whispered, taught me something I needed to learn about compassion for others and for myself. Your regrets are not punishments, but teachers. They show you what you now value most deeply, what you wish you had understood sooner. Instead of replaying the past with judgment, transform regret into intention. What wisdom can you still embody? What love can you still express? What peace can you still choose? Your remaining years become an opportunity to live out the insights your mistakes have given you. But wisdom without peace remains incomplete, which brings us to perhaps the most practical lesson. The fifth lesson teaches us to befriend our changing body rather than battling it. Western culture treats physical aging like a war to be won, but Buddhist wisdom sees it as a meditation to be experienced. Your body has been your faithful companion for decades. It deserves reverence, not resentment. The Buddha spoke of the body as impermanent, constantly changing, neither to be identified with completely nor rejected entirely. Think of your relationship with your aging body as you would with an old friend who moves more slowly now, but whose conversation has grown infinitely richer. When joints ache or energy flags, instead of cursing these changes, breathe into them with curiosity. What is this sensation teaching me about letting go? What is fatigue showing me about the difference between essential and non-essential activities? Many elderly practitioners discover that physical limitations become doorways to deeper meditation, forcing them to explore inner landscapes they were too busy to visit in younger years. The practice is simple. Each morning, place your hands on your chest and acknowledge your body with gratitude for another day of service, another opportunity to experience this fleeting gift of consciousness. Yet even as we make peace with physical changes, emotional turbulence can intensify in unexpected ways. The sixth lesson addresses the unique emotional challenges of aging, grief, loneliness, and the fear of becoming irrelevant. Buddhist psychology recognizes that in later life, we face what practitioners call the great letting go, not just of people and abilities, but of the very identity we've constructed over decades. This can feel like death before death, and indeed it is, the ego's dissolution that spiritual traditions have long recognized as the pathway to liberation. Imagine grief as a river you must cross, not a wall you must break through. Each loss of friends, of capabilities, of familiar roles carries you deeper into the current of impermanence that runs through all existence. The teaching here is not to avoid the river, but to learn to swim in it with grace. When loneliness visits, welcome it as a teacher of solitude. When irrelevance whispers its poison, remember that your worth was never dependent on your productivity or social recognition. Your value lies in your consciousness itself, in your capacity to experience beauty, to feel love, to witness the profound mystery of existence. These capabilities don't diminish with age, they often deepen, becoming more precious as they become more conscious. This deepening awareness leads us to the final and perhaps most profound lesson. The seventh lesson reveals that old age is actually your graduation ceremony from the school of becoming into the university of being. Throughout most of life, we're focused on becoming something more successful, more loved, more secure, more accomplished. But Buddhist wisdom teaches that this endless becoming is a form of suffering, a rejection of what we already are. In your later years, life itself begins to teach you the art of simply being. You have less to prove and more to appreciate. Fewer years ahead means each moment carries more weight, more presence, more possibility for genuine encounter with reality as it is. I think of the ancient trees near our monastery. They're no longer growing taller or adding branches, but their presence has a quality that young saplings cannot match. They've learned to be fully themselves, deeply rooted, unshakable in storms, offering shade and wisdom simply through their being. This is your invitation now, to shift from doing your life to being your life. When you wake each morning, Instead of asking, "What must I accomplish today?" try asking, "How can I be fully present to this day?" Instead of measuring your worth by your productivity, measure it by your capacity for peace, wonder, and love. These 7 lessons weave together into a single profound truth. Your old age is not life's postscript, but its climax, not retirement from meaning, but graduation into wisdom. The Buddha taught that all of life is preparation for death, but not in the morbid sense our culture assumes. Rather, it's preparation for the ultimate letting go that reveals what was always eternal within you, the awareness that witnesses all change but is itself unchanging, the love that flows through you but is not dependent on external circumstances, the peace that surges up from depths no storm can reach. As you focus on yourself in these precious years, remember that you're not turning away from the world, but turning toward your truest self, the self that has always been whole, has always been enough, has always been worthy of your own deepest love and attention. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to like this video and subscribe for more wisdom on navigating life's sacred transitions with Buddhist grace and understanding.